Welcome to Better System Trader, the podcast to help systematic traders of all levels improve their trading. We'll give you loads of expert tips and practical advice on system design and validation, money management, trading psychology, and many other topics. Whether you're just starting out or a savvy systematic trader, we're here to help you improve your trading and find more success. This is Better System Trader with your host, Andrew Swanscott.
Hi there, welcome to Better System Trader. This is episode number 114. I just want to start off today by addressing a couple of emails I received this week about why some of the podcast episodes are so short. People are wondering what's going on. So, essentially the podcast episodes that are released during the week, like this one, which is Thursday US time or Friday for Asia Pacific, those episodes are short on purpose. I originally started calling them Thursday Trading Thoughts, which I kind of just dropped the name after a while, but they will typically be just a quick story or perhaps a trading thought or idea. And sometimes I like to highlight an interesting point from a previous podcast episode that I think is relevant and is worth reviewing. The other podcast episodes that are released every second Sunday with a special guest, they're usually much longer. So if you're a new listener or wondering why some podcast episodes are shorter than others, now you know. Okay, let's get into this week's episode. Last week we reviewed a technique that Kevin Davey shared to measure the effectiveness of entries and exits using something he calls the monkey test. If you haven't heard that one yet, it was episode number 113. This week we're going to look at entries and exits from a slightly different angle, and that is, how do you measure your trading edge after you've entered a trade? And is it possible to identify when that edge has disappeared? And you should consider exiting the trade rather than overstaying your welcome. So in this episode, we're going to review a technique that Dave Bergstrom uses to measure the decay of a trading edge. So let's head over to Dave now. We pick up the conversation talking about validating trading strategies for robustness. So you've mentioned some steps that you take during the strategy creation process to kind of prevent overfitting and things like that. But what about after you've come up with some strategies? Now, how do you actually validate or test them for robustness? What kind of techniques do you use?
I think the simplest test is looking across markets. That's obviously you have more confidence if a strategy works across similarly related markets. And then second, I have, a handful of, well, actually, even before I get into that, I want to mention, so in my own testing, I want to bring up E ratios, which is, or edge ratios, which essentially is the normalized favorable movement divided by the normalized adverse movement post signal. So basically, this is an idea of how much edge, can be realized after a signal. And maybe I can link a calculation or something for this. But to me, I found in my research that if I had strategies that had really positive, backtest results, if you will, and even out of sample results, but if they had basic negative or unfavorable E ratios, they would always fail. So to me, a really good test is it has to have a positive E ratio. So even if it has a great back test but a bad E ratio, I'll throw it out right away. And then moving on, obviously the test you can do a variety of Monte Carlo tests. Just the simple reshuffling of trades. You can do. I think I talked about the random amount of sample I do. You can just look at even versus odd days, the performance on those to see if, that does anything. And then, I really it's essentially I call it a noise test. So what I'll do is I'll add varying amounts of noise to the historical data. And then I'll go back and retrade the strategy on the newly created noisy data. And sometimes it's less noise, sometimes it's more noise. It's basically a random noise. I don't know how to, adder or subtractor. And, if the strategy, seems to be, hold up well with differing amounts of noise, then to me, that just, another way to lend confidence that it's not overfit to the exact price data, but it's, robust.
If I can just jump back to this E-ratio idea, I just want to make sure that I got the concept right. So are you saying that you're looking at the ratio of the maximum favorable excursion and
adverse? Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. I did almost do the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So essentially, what it is so you look at like the origin of the signal, the point of the signal, and then you'll look, okay, after one bar, what's the average normalized for volatility favorable excursion divided by the normalized for volatility average adverse excursion, and then you'll just do that from 1 to n bars from the signal. So let's say that your trading has like a maximum hold time or like an average hold time of 5 bars, but you see this E ratio fall off the cliff after 3 bars. It just kind of gives you a sense like, hey, maybe I don't want to hold for 5 bars because the edge goes away. So yeah, it's just another measure to kind of see how much edge plays out after the signal occurs.
Thanks to Dave for sharing that technique of using the E ratio to measure a trading edge and also to identify when it may have decayed enough to consider getting out of the trade. If you'd like more details about the E ratio, Dave did also publish a blog post for Better System Trader explaining it in more detail. I have a link to that on the show notes page at bettersystemtrader.com/114. So if you're interested, go check that out. And that's it for this episode. Look out for a new episode being released this weekend with a new special guest, and enjoy the rest of your week. Okay, well that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Come on over to bettersystemtrader.com. That's where you'll find all the previous episodes, all the transcribes, all the show notes, and all the free weekly trading tips. bettersystemtrader.com.